Sisters who watch. Sisters who watch. Sisters who watch.
NBA playoffs.
Hey y'all, hey, welcome to Sisters Who Watch.
Hello, I'm Shelby.
And I'm Laura, and we're sisters who watch everything. TV, movies, sports, concerts, and even hours of mediocre basketball. We love to watch, and we love talking about it even more. Today we're watching
the 2024 NBA playoffs. That's right, the end of the 2023 to 2024 NBA season.
Woo woo! And today we have a really special episode with an amazing guest. But before we get into it, PSA, y'all, make sure you give Sisters Who Watch 5 stars wherever you listen. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, 5 stars, please. And subscribe to our YouTube channel at Sisters Who Watch and follow us on all our social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, all at Sisters Who Watch. Give us a follow, show us some love. And we also have merch. We have hats. I'm wearing our hat right now. Go to our website, sisterswhowatch.com, and go to the shop tab, and you can find all our merch there. And now we also have listener support. So on Spotify, you can subscribe to our page, send us some money. We also have a Zelle. So you can Zelle us at sisterswhowatch@gmail.com and support us that way. Thank you, guys.
Thanks in advance. So on to our special guest. Very exciting. Max Pearce is here with us today, our family friend, Harlem Globetrotter, and Dunk All-Star, that's right. Nothing but net.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, so exciting. So we've known Max a really long time. Max and I were actually in the same kindergarten class, if you can believe that.
Like 50 years ago.
Yeah, don't ask us how long. It'll give our age. But it's so crazy. Our families were friends growing up, and it's just exciting that we're still connected and to have you on our podcast today. It's really special.
Thank you. Yeah, I always appreciate when, people from where we grew up are doing great things, and you guys definitely have a great thing going here, and I'm just excited to be a part of it.
Yes, Max, tell everyone about you, what you're doing, the globetrotting. Yes, tell the people.
This is my 6th year with the Globetrotters. I got on the Globetrotters because I was in the College Slam Dunk Contest on ESPN in 2018 when I was going to Purchase College. And so I didn't win that contest, but ultimately I had, I guess, good enough of a showing where one of the Globetrotter scouts was watching, and he called my school and left a message for me. And he was like, please tell Max to call this number whenever he gets back to campus. So I got back to campus, and the sports information director was like, Max, you need to call this number back ASAP. And so I called him back, went to do a workout, and here we are 6 years later somehow. But it's been a lot of fun. I mean, I've gotten to go to 15 different countries, spoken to probably 30,000 kids at this point. So it's been a lot of fun.
So amazing. Thank you for sharing. I love to hear that.
I mean, Shelby and I, we played a little basketball growing up. Didn't go much beyond high school, but basketball, yeah, it's a big part of all of our lives. So it's really cool that we have a Harlem Globetrotter on here.
Yes.
To talk about, the NBA.
And you mentioned that you really got noticed by the Globetrotters at a dunk contest. And I know you're known for your dunks. When did you start doing these like dunk and stunt videos? Like, how'd you get into that?
So I want to say the passion for dunking in general probably started in like 3rd grade or so. I can vividly remember like putting like those mini trampolines in front of my hoop in the backyard, and then lowering the rim all the way to like maybe like 6 feet, and then jumping off the trampoline and trying to copy Nate Robinson and Vince Carter. So I think that's probably when the passion really started to develop. And then since then, I've just been obsessed with it. So I would work as much as I could to get closer and closer to actually dunking. And then on top of that, I was a short player for most of my career. I'm still relatively short. I'm 6 feet compared to my teammates who are like 6'8", 6'10", and stuff like that. But for most of my basketball career, I was undersized. So it really was so satisfying when I was finally able to dunk the ball. And that was maybe in like 11th grade or something like that. So once I was finally able to dunk, I was like, okay, I'm just going to do this as much as I can, apply as much of my creativity to it as possible. And ultimately, it's been cool. I've gotten to be in dunk contests in Latvia. I got a chance to put my own dunks in NBA 2K and NBA Live, which is 2 video games that I grew up playing.
Amazing.
So that was a really cool full circle moment for me. As I mentioned before, Nate Robinson, who was my inspiration to dunk the ball, he was the judge for the college dunk contest that I got discovered by the Globetrotters at. So just a lot of full circle moments.
Love it.
Within
The
that
symmetry.
journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm curious. You mentioned like Nate Robinson was an inspiration, but like who was your favorite NBA player growing up?
Honestly, Nate Robinson, Vince Carter, and then I would have to throw LeBron in there because of what LeBron has done with his platform, more so off the court. Like what he's been able to leverage is just, it's such a great example for anyone else who's an athlete who claims that they have to just stick within their sport. And that's not true.
I feel the same way about LeBron. Our brother is like a huge LeBron fan, mostly like Laura knows, like really big, mostly because of LeBron's game. But I like LeBron for the fact that he has created schools. He's producing content. Like he really has become a brand and has so many cool ventures going on. And like you said, I think that's really inspirational.
And I also wanted to ask Max, what's the most surprising thing about being a Harlem Globetrotter? Like maybe something unexpected about the role?
So first, my rookie year, the travel adjustment was the most difficult because I went to a Division III school where we traveled like in the tri-state area to play our opponents. High school was small, didn't do much traveling then. So to go from that kind of background to playing in 4 or 5 cities a week, playing in all 50 states, we play in over 100 different countries within like a 10-year frame. So, going from that to the polar opposite and just having to adjust to living out of a suitcase and on a tour bus and constantly on a plane. And then secondly, like I was a very, very shy kid. I always felt nervous speaking in front of groups of people, even if I knew them. I distinctly remember at Chapel, like in the second half of our years at Chapel, like raising my hand to answer a question, I felt nervous. So even if I did it was so nerve-wracking to do that. So to go from that to being able to confidently speak and tell my story in front of 700 kids in Germany for a week, for every day in a week, it's amazing to experience that 180 shift.
Love the growth.
Growing up, what team did you root for? Were you a Knicks fan? Being from New York like us?
Oh man, a lot of people are gonna be mad at me. I went to a lot of Knicks games, but I am not a Knicks fan. I am a Miami Heat fan.
Wow. You have to explain.
So my dad has been going back and forth to Miami for the past maybe 17 or 18 years. And when he first started bringing us, that was around the time when the Miami Heat were doing really well with Dwayne Wade when they were approaching their first championship. So like 2005, 2006. Yeah. Technically, I'm like a bandwagon in that sense. But I was only like 8.
You joined at the right time. But
I just joined at the right time, I guess. I represent New York everywhere that I go. So it's not that I don't root for the Knicks, but if they're playing Miami, I'm going to root for Miami.
That's fair. And honestly, I guess technically we're Knicks fans, but the Knicks were irrelevant like our entire childhood. So it was hard to be a Knicks fan. If anything, I think I've been a fan of players more than teams these days.
So this season was a disappointment, more so because of the injuries. Jimmy Butler didn't play a single playoff game because he hurt his knee. Kevin Love had back problems. Terry Rozier is out because of an injury. And that's just Miami. Then if we get into all the other teams, Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Damian Lillard, the Knicks had like 5
the entire roster.
Major, like there's just so many players that I've never seen this many players injured in one playoffs in my life.
Insane.
It's crazy.
What do
So
you think is in the water? Why do you think there's so many injuries?
I've thought that in the most recent CBA, they changed the back-to-backs that the players play in their schedule, which is supposed to be helpful to their health because they're not playing as much. But to be honest, I don't really know. I think a lot of these injuries are just like almost like freak accidents, like Jimmy Butler, like somebody jumped in the air and landed on his knee. Like there's nothing you could really do about that.
Yeah, and it's weird because, right, there's like load management too these days, right? So it's not like players are playing as much as they used to. So it's hard to figure out what's going on. That relates to, the themes of this past, NBA season. Like you mentioned, injuries. And personally, that's why I think this Celtics title, isn't the best because they didn't really have to play that many good players or teams.
I'm happy that we're in agreement there. It was a much easier. I'm not gonna say it was a cakewalk, but it was a much easier path to get to the finals.
They played the Heat without Jimmy, right? And like you said, Rozier.
The Cavs, and then Donovan Mitchell missed the last 2 games. Hurt. Jared Allen didn't play any of those games.
And then the Pacers with
Tyrese
Halliburton getting hurt. And then even in the finals, Luka didn't look 100%.
No, and he was pretty banged up. But also, I don't even know if they would be playing the Pacers if the Knicks were healthy. There's a lot of alternatives that are also affected by injuries. Like Philly was good. Philly, if Joel Embiid wasn't in the best shape, he was dealing with like Bell's palsy in his eye, and like a healthy Sixers team, they might have been in the way for Boston. And then I also think a healthy Knicks team might have gotten in the way. Boston didn't really have any injuries besides Porzingis. That was the only player who had any significant injuries or time missed from an injury. Another big factor for teams that end up winning the finals is who can stay healthy for the longest. So got to give credit to Boston for their health.
I guess.
That part. Were you expecting the Celtics to go all the way, right? They had a great record, the best in the league.
They had a great record, obviously. They were the number 1 seed in the East. But I wasn't expecting them to go that far. Like this far, like finals far. I was expecting like a second round or a conference finals exit. In my opinion, they hadn't been tested at any point in the postseason, really. But, congratulations to them. As a Miami fan, it doesn't feel good to see Boston win. Equally as a Knicks fan, it doesn't feel the same. I feel like only Boston fans are really happy that Boston won.
Right?
I feel like everyone I know was voting against Boston. It's just something about Boston people don't like. I mean, as New Yorkers, right? Anti-Patriot, anti-Celtic, anti-Red Sox.
Yeah, Red Sox,
won't root for any of them. But it seems like it's not just New Yorkers. It's like everyone in the country.
That's a good point.
Does not like Boston. The East was a bit of a cakewalk, but the West was pretty loaded between the Nuggets, the Thunder, the Mavs, and the Timberwolves. And that doesn't even count, right? The Clippers. So I thought whoever got out of the West would win. I was hoping the Timberwolves would have made it, but I don't know what happened. The Mavs found a way to win.
I don't know what it is, but they will be back plenty of more times.
Yes. Also curious your thoughts about Nikola Jokic winning his 3rd MVP. Do you agree with that? Were you surprised?
I was not surprised. I actually thought that it was deserved. And I as much as I'm not particularly a fan of the Nuggets, but I wouldn't have been surprised if this was his 4th in a row.
The top MVP vote getters were Jokic and Luka and SGA. And it kind of feels like it's like a changing of the guard.
Quote unquote. It's like a bigs league right now. But I mean, it's more so that way because bigs are acquiring guard skills. Like Joel Embiid plays more like a guard. He plays on the perimeter a lot. Like even Giannis, like he's not particularly a post player. He likes to get a running start from the outside, even though he doesn't shoot a lot. Jokic plays both. Even Anthony Davis, like tons of guard skills within his game. I don't think they're like the traditional like Shaquille O'Neal big is really like a thing anymore. So that's why we're seeing a lot of bigs get MVPs like in the last like 5-6 years.
I think back to when we were growing up, like you said, it was more traditional centers. And even I feel like when I was playing, I was like a forward center. I was not dribbling like that. I was just at the post. I was not shooting 3-pointers. Layups and rebounds were my focus.
Right. Same here. 5. Stand in the middle, pass the ball. That's it. This season, Shelby and I actually went to a playoff game.
We
Yes.
did.
Okay. What game did y'all go to?
It was Clippers and the
Mavericks.
Yes.
Yeah. So
That's
that was
a good
round
matchup.
1. So we actually got to see Luka live, and he was really good.
Wow.
Like
Yeah,
the Clippers
he's
lost.
No joke.
Luka
Yeah.
went
They
off, Kyrie went
destroyed
off.
the Clippers.
I also think that the Clippers could have done a better job with the names that they have, but back to injuries. Kawhi. Kawhi not
Never
being able
plays.
to play the whole series this year, like the same thing like last year. But yeah, that's a good series to watch.
Yes, the game was so fun. We had been to, several NBA games before, but the crowd was on fire. They were throwing,
different.
all kinds of stuff. Things were falling out of the sky. It was wild.
We got free
shirts. Yes, this is the shirt I got from the Clippers.
Clippers.
Yes, this is from
nice.
the NBA playoff game we went to. Did you have a favorite series, Max, before,
from this year?
the finals? Yeah,
Yes.
from this year.
Knicks Pacers. The fact that series went to 7 games and game 7 was in the Garden is just like, you can't really ask for a better scenario than that. I don't think there's anybody rowdier or more out of pocket than the Knicks fan base.
So true.
Just observing, the Knicks fans on IG and like there's all these platforms like Side Talk NYC that show like the let out of the Knicks games, and you just see how crazy they get. Like,
yes, and there's always a bunch of celebrities sitting courtside.
Always.
Spike
'Cause it's the
Lee,
Garden.
Yep. It's New York. It's New York.
The place to be.
And I feel like when New York was still in the playoffs, the Knicks are so buzzy. I feel like people were talking about them a lot, but then once the Knicks got out, I felt like the excitement kind of went away.
The NBA is probably not happy because the finals averaged like the lowest viewership in years
since the pandemic, I think.
Yeah, they need the stars like LeBron or Steph, or the franchises like the Knicks that have big, strong, passionate fan bases, because no one cared about Boston, Dallas. I mean, I know I didn't.
Yeah, it didn't really move me. Like, this was the first time I didn't watch every game of the finals. Like, and probably in my time as a sports fan. But I feel like this is good for women's basketball because like it just kind of shows the numbers in comparison in real time. There's a lot of momentum in that direction right now.
Between March Madness this year, the fact that women's basketball was so much better. I watched the Final Four for women's and men's, and I had to turn off men's. I was like, this is so boring.
Yeah. Seriously. Because the women just provided like a storyline effect that that you didn't get from the men. There were characters like that you could follow along with. We got to know the players more for just what they do on the court. And I don't think we really did that, particularly this year with the men.
People are finally paying attention to women's basketball. And I think when the ratings, which means like money, right, and eyeballs, they're like, oh, if people are watching this more, maybe we do need to put more money behind it.
And I thought it was so wild. I remember hearing Caitlin Clark's salary.
WNBA salary.
Yes. And how it was under 6 figures. And I was like, how is that possible? Like people, right? Like me, when I graduated college, I was making more than her compared to her as like a WNBA athlete. How does that make any sense? So I'm, hopefully as more people are watching the WNBA, they can get compensated so much more.
Yeah.
Because the men's are getting like 100 times more money.
More. It's like exponents, like exponentially more. Like their game checks, the average game check is more than the highest salary for a WNBA player. Just one game.
For a whole year. Hopefully more people are watching, because I heard it's, it's about ratings, and that's why they're not getting paid as much. So what were some like disappointments, leading up to the playoffs? I know Shelby and I were big Steph Curry fans, so the Warriors losing the play-in and missing the playoffs was rough for us to see.
Oh my goodness. That's definitely one that I would have mentioned. And because this was the year that Klay Thompson, I think he went scoreless in that elimination game. I'm pretty sure.
Did.
Oof.
0. It's rough.
What do you think happened to the Warriors, Max?
I think Klay Thompson is too much in his head right now. To me, it seems like he's paying attention to a lot of what outside people are saying, because basketball is such a mental game. And I think it's affecting his play, because for him to go scoreless in an elimination game is just, I would never, ever have guessed that in my life. But then I also think that like, it's kind of been like brewing for a while between what happened with like Draymond and Jordan Poole 2 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
2 years ago when he punched him, trying to figure out like what they're going to do with Klay long term, and Draymond getting suspended like 5 or 6 times like in the last 2 years. Like,
clown behavior.
They've had a lot of nonsense going on. So I think it's probably distracting. Exactly. I think it's distracting.
Could be the end of the era, the Splash Brothers era.
Could be.
R.I.P.
But they had a long run though. I would absolutely consider it a dynasty.
Yes.
Like
yes.
There is nothing short of a dynasty. So I wouldn't be mad at all if I was Klay or Steph or Draymond, because you got 4.
Yeah.
Okay, more than most.
Yeah.
I know Shelby really loves the Inside the NBA crew. Have you been watching that, Max, throughout the playoffs?
Yeah.
They're great.
So I have like a personal story with that crew. The 2020, my friend Rob and I, we made like a dunk video, and the video started to circulate, and one of the, I guess, like producers at TNT during All-Star Weekend decided to show it to the Inside the NBA crew. And so they had this 2.5-minute argument live on the show about whether or not the dunk was real or fake. And so it's hilarious. And so fast forward to All-Star Weekend in Cleveland last year. This is my first time meeting Shaq in person. And the first thing he said to me, I said, "What's up, Shaq? Nice to meet you." He said, "That was your little ass?" I was like, huh? He's like, "That dunk." He's like, "That dunk was your little ass?" I'm like, what? That was the first thing Shaquille O'Neal ever said to me.
Wow. Amazing.
First thing he ever said.
That's hilarious.
Just so representative of like the humor and the banter that they constantly have on that show. So I think it's going away.
Basically, the NBA has been going through like rights negotiations for the next season. It's rumored it's going to be NBC Universal. So instead of Warner Brothers Discovery, i.e. TNT, having games, it'll go to NBC. Yeah. And then everyone was freaking out, like, what's going to happen to Inside the NBA? I mean, honestly, that's like part of the reason I watch playoff games. They're so funny. All of their segments, they're hilarious. And then Charles Barkley, said something how he's going to retire after next season because he only wants to work with Turner. I don't know if I fully believe it, but that would be awful. Because I know Chuck, I feel like he just talks.
A whole lot. Even if it was like a bad playoff game, if a team was getting blown out and like the game itself isn't entertaining, but the halftime show is all that I'm here for.
Right? So you said that you met Shaq. Have there been any other like NBA players you've met? Like any highlights you can tell us about?
LeBron, Steph. I did a 2019. I did a dunk contest during All-Star Weekend at a facility that the Currys renovated. So this dunk contest, the judges were Steph Curry, his parents, his sister, his brother, his wife, and his brother-in-law. So just kind of like interacting with them, and his mom hit like a half-court shot, like at at that event. That same dunk that I was telling you guys about with Inside the NBA, there were 2 or 3 years where I was like helping like advise the dunkers for the NBA dunk contest. And one particular year, 3 out of the 4 of them wanted to do that dunk. And I was like, I'm honored that you want to do that, but I don't think you're understanding how much goes into it. Like you have to really, really be in sync with the person that's passing you the ball, and that it takes repetition. And so Dwight Howard, for example, he said, yeah, I'm going to do that dunk. And I'm going to have Jameer Nelson, who was his old point guard, do the pass. And we're like, okay, well, where's Jameer? He's like, no, I'll just pick him out the crowd to do it. I'm like, nah.
You got to practice.
Don't do that. Don't do that. It's not, I don't want you to embarrass yourself. Pat Connaughton, Derrick Jones Jr., Aaron Gordon, Klay Thompson, Obi Toppin. There's been probably like 40 or 50 players over the last few years.
So cool.
So cool.
Wow. You met the whole Curry family. Shelby's so jealous. The look on her face.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw my like mouth drop. I was like, what?
And they're very nice. They're like Steph Curry is
love to hear
a very wholesome person.
Love it.
Yeah, I have all of Aisha's cookbooks. I've been to her Sweet July store in Oakland. I'm a fan.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, you are absolutely a fan.
So we have a game, Max. I think we're ready to play.
I like games.
Yes. It's called Red Flag, Green Flag, 1, 2, 3. Is it a red flag to only play well at home games? Sort of like in the finals, you had Dallas. They seem to like only play well at home. So curious your thoughts about
red flag
not being able to play.
Red flag.
Red.
Because championships are most of the time they're won on the road. Unless you are the number 1 seed, you always start out with home court advantage. Then you're probably going to win if you always protect home. But if you can't take care of the road, you're going at least 6 games every single series.
I agree.
Sure.
Bright red.
Bright red.
Is it a green flag for the best team all season to win it all? So some people thought the finals were a little predictable because the Celtics were the best team, and then they just kind of cakewalked into the finals. So is that a green flag? Is that a good thing that the best team won?
So it's good and bad. It's good because they like I'm a fan of basketball, of good basketball at the end of the day. Yes. So like if the best team won, then they did what they were supposed to do. But if it's too obvious and it's like too lopsided, it's not enjoyable as a fan.
No.
So that's where the red comes in. So I got a red and a green flag on that particular one. I got to wave them both.
Right. If the team was Miami or the Knicks, then green flag. But of course it's the Celtics, right. So it's a little not as exciting. Right. Not as exciting.
No. I think that's why people weren't really watching the finals. It's like everyone, 1, people don't like Boston, and 2, everyone kind of knew they're going to win. It's like, what's the point?
Yes.
I don't want to watch them win every game.
So overall, 2024 NBA Finals, was this season of the playoffs, was this a wait or a watch?
I'm still going to say it was a watch.
I'm
still going to say it was a watch. But I feel like I'm biased because I am a hardcore basketball fan. So I was still able to extract some good out of it. It just wasn't like the entertainment value wasn't what we know it could be. There were some moments that were really entertaining. Like the Knicks Pacers series, so much fun. Any Knicks series was so much fun.
Knicks 76ers, so good.
Yep, Knicks Sixers, that was a good series. Even watching Dallas and Minnesota play, and all of their series, like their series were fun. Overall, like I do think I was still able to extract some good basketball out of watching this year.
Okay.
That's fair.
We like the perspective. I think Shelby's probably going to agree with me. I'm gonna say it's a wait.
Laura, you weren't even watching it. Did you watch it?
Exactly.
I don't even think Laura watched any games.
Exactly. That's the point. I didn't feel compelled to stay plugged in. Like, I wasn't plugged into the playoffs because, right, the Celtics, everyone was saying, oh, they're going to win. And it's right. I don't care about the Celtics. So I wasn't as excited. When the Knicks were in, I was like, oh, the Knicks, right? You know, I was excited about that. Also, just in general, I feel like not that many people were talking about the playoffs.
Right.
Like, it wasn't as buzzy as normal. Yeah, less people were watching. Generally, it's a wait for me.
Yeah.
It's a wait.
I'm not mad at that. If there was a line between watch and wait, I'm like right over the line on the watch side. But
barely.
If I wake up too early and I'm having a bad day, I might feel like it's on the wait side. So I'm not mad.
I agree with you, Laura. It's definitely a wait. It was boring except for a few series, like you were saying, Max. I think any series with the Knicks or the Timberwolves to me were interesting. Like, I think those two teams were fascinating and brought it. But beyond that, I didn't really care. Also wish, of course, the players I liked were still in it. And, Steph didn't even make the playoffs. So that was tough. I just think the Celtics aren't interesting. Or they don't really have star power. I don't know what it is. I felt the same way last year with the Nuggets. Like, the Nuggets didn't really pop for me. And I know Jokic is really good, but
Yeah.
he doesn't have that much personality.
I think you make a great point, and it's the point that I've been thinking about with all this. Like, play style is so important as it relates to entertainment value. Like, the Nuggets are really good, but they play team basketball big time. Like, Jokic is like the man on the Nuggets, but he plays team basketball. Like, he passes a lot. He's not dunking on people. Like, he's not crossing people up. It's very patient. It's very slow. If you're not like a super duper crazy basketball fan, it's going to be really boring to watch Nikola Jokic. If there's a team that doesn't have, if their dominant player isn't like similar to the play style of like a Ja Morant, who is like super athletic and like jumping and dunking on people, or like Anthony Edwards is fun to watch because he plays with a lot of passion. He's very athletic. He dunks on people. There's certain play styles that are just naturally more entertaining to watch. And that's because they resemble like a lot of the contests that we have like during All-Star Weekend. So like, we love Stephen Curry so much because of how much he shoots from three, how far he shoots, like his ball skills, and all of those things are like specific contests within All-Star Weekend. 3-point shootout, skills competition, those two in particular. And then we like Ja Morant, we like Anthony Edwards, we like Derrick Jones Jr., we like Aaron Gordon because of how much they dunk the ball and how creative they are with dunking the ball, which resemble the dunk contest. So it's those things that I feel like are like a direct correlation to the entertainment value that a team or a player brings. It showed this year.
That's exactly what I think I was trying to say. Like, Boston, Denver, they're good, but it's boring. I need a little more flair, spice. And I guess that's how we should play. My former coaches are probably upset hearing me say this. Like, no, play this team. But no, it's more interesting when it's like, Russell Westbrook or like Kobe Bryant, where they're,
exactly
more exciting.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yep.
Did y'all agree with the finals MVP? I know there was like a little controversy. People thought Tatum should have taken it. Thoughts?
I actually agreed with it. I think Jason Tatum was a little bit too inconsistent. And I think that Jaylen Brown played better in more significant moments. Like, Jason Tatum had 30 in game 2, but it was a blowout. Like, Jaylen Brown had 30 in game 1 or whatever games that they only won by like 3 or something like that. So the points were a lot more valuable. It matters when you contribute and how you contribute. Jason Tatum absolutely contributed in pretty much every game, but not to the level that we know he can play at.
From what I saw, the little I watched the finals, to your point, Max, it felt like Jaylen was more consistent And technically, I think Tatum might have had better numbers. But if you actually have been watching the games,
Right.
Brown was doing like more of like the grunt work and really being there for the team in those big moments. So I wasn't mad at it. I do think it could lead to drama. I mean, hopefully it doesn't get in the heads of players, but
Yeah,
Jalen and Jason, they're like the two top dogs, and who knows
absolutely.
how it could affect the team dynamic.
I think at the end of the day, Jason Tatum's going to forget all that when he gets his extension because he's going to get more than Jaylen Brown. I guarantee he'll be like, I just set a contract record for $400 million. I'll be
Who
okay.
cares about that finals MVP trophy? Now, should we move to our what to watch segment?
Yes.
I'm ready.
So, of course, now that the finals are over, the NBA offseason is in full swing. So we should pay attention to like the coaching carousel. The Lakers just hired JJ Reddick as their new head coach.
Yep.
How do we feel about that?
I feel like I'm like an outlier a little bit in the sense that I'm okay with it. Like I don't think it's a terrible decision. I think that it'll be better than Darvin Ham. He's a very high IQ player. He can be very no nonsense, which is a quality that you absolutely need in a coach. Otherwise, you're not going to have control of the locker room. Coaching any team that LeBron is on is going to come with its own set of issues and increased visibility. You're under a microscope. You will never receive adequate credit, whether that's too much or too little. Coaching a team that LeBron is on can alleviate some of your responsibilities because LeBron is an extension of a coach just on the floor because he's that high IQ of a player. I think it's going to be pretty good. But it's going to depend on the pieces that they get, like player-wise as well, because they need to add a few.
Yeah. I love the optimism since I'm in LA. I'm not really, a Lakers fan, but I want them to do well. They matter to the city a lot. So I'm hopeful that this will be good, but it's definitely a risk since JJ's never coached before.
It is.
And he's the same age or like a year older than LeBron. Like they're close in age. I've always find that interesting when like the coach is like the same age as the player. So I'm curious how that dynamic will be.
Yeah. I also think with LeBron, though, he's his own example because he's legitimately the oldest player in the league. So he's going to be the same age, if not older than some other coaches. Like he played against so many coaches. Like he played against Tyronn Lue. He played against JJ Reddick. He played against Jason Kidd. I think that's probably becoming more of the norm. And with every passing year that LeBron continues to play, it's going to be the same thing.
LeBron's the oldest player in the league. When do you think he'll retire? Will it be like a Tom Brady thing? Like, what do you think?
Giving Tom Brady.
I wouldn't be surprised if LeBron announces his retirement and then comes back like, nah, I'm actually not ready to retire. And then plays another, maybe only one more year, but he comes back and plays another year. And then he's like, okay, yeah, I should have stuck with my initial decision. I'm really out. I think LeBron probably has 3 to 4 more years, realistically, which means he would be 43.
It's so impressive. I think it's unbelievable that he can still be playing at that age at such a high level. And he probably wants to keep breaking records, get more rings. And he's probably going to have all the records if he keeps playing for so long.
It's crazy. He doesn't have many left.
I know, there's not much more to break.
Doesn't have many left.
Another thing to just keep in mind during the off season are, of course, trades. Already, Giddey from Oklahoma City was traded to Chicago for Alex Caruso. There are rumors about what's going to happen to Paul George, what's going to happen to Chris Paul. I mean, the NBA season is not over because the trades are going to be crazy. Do you think Miami will be doing any trades, Max?
I really like this group. I was disappointed when we let go of Gabe Vincent and Max Strus last year.
Yeah, they were good for you guys.
I honestly think that was the worst thing to happen to Gabe Vincent's career because he got to the Lakers, got hurt, and also just we kind of forgot how good he was. But in terms of trades, I think Jimmy will come back. Pat Riley's going to have some decisions to make. I don't
Mm.
know whose contracts look like what. So that's half the battle. Tyler Hero might be safe from being traded. I know they're not trading Bam Adebayo. They're not trading Jimmy. So like at that point, it's like Tyler is like next on the list. So I don't know. But I do think that the Josh Giddey trade was interesting. I think I don't know what Chicago was thinking. On the flip side, OKC, one of the best, like I would have made the same exact decision. Like
Wow.
I couldn't have said yes fast enough to get Alex Caruso for Josh Giddey, because Josh Giddey struggled in the playoffs this year. Like he's a point guard, but he can't really shoot. So it's really limited, and he was turning the ball over a lot. So I think they're only going to get better, and they were already the 1 seed in the West. So
Crazy.
it's going to be a fun offseason.
Yes,
But I don't want the trade stuff to overshadow what's going on in the W. At this point, I don't think it will, but I can't put it past folk.
It's real. You never know.
So the NBA draft is, quickly approaching.
It's interesting. It seems like this year's NBA draft is a bit softer, whereas last year everyone was like, oh my gosh, Victor Wembanyama. It doesn't seem like there's as much excitement this year. The Hawks have the first draft pick.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily the best year to be number one.
No. I think this year is still going to be really interesting just off of the Bronny James element alone.
Yes.
Like seeing what happens with Bronny is going to overshadow the story of the number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, whatever pick. Like that's going to be the story of the summer for sure.
With him playing at USC, like everyone's been buzzing and people were going to games. So I just can't even imagine what the buzz will be for whatever team that he goes to, and whether or not that'll impact what LeBron wants to do.
Has there been a father-son duo in the NBA?
Nope.
Wow.
This will be the first.
That's crazy.
LeBron has played against fathers and sons, but separately. He's probably played against maybe like 14 fathers and sons. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah,
because he's been there for 21 years.
At the same time.
Right, yeah, they don't play at the same time.
LeBron is an outlier. Yeah. There are definitely, I feel like, a lot of current, players that are like sons of NBA players playing right now. But, their dads are like a lot older. There is no shot in them playing at the same time.
Yeah, their dads are doing podcasts and golfing. Like, their dads are done. They're done.
Wow.
Their dads is getting Social Security.
Yes, retirement home.
Yes, literally.
The thing that's going to frustrate me about that the most is the level of criticism that is going to come from it. They're going to judge LeBron as if he's in his prime and Bronny as if he's in his prime, even though Bronny would have just got there and LeBron would have been 22 years in, literally 40 years old. That's annoying, and I think it's going to get in the way of us being able to recognize like how rare of a thing it is that we're witnessing. Like this, I think this has only happened in one other sport, and that was baseball. Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr. But you can play baseball way longer than you can play basketball because it's not a contact sport.
We already mentioned the WNBA, so we got to keep tabs on that, right? Supporting women's sports. And also I'm just curious to see like this competition and kind of beef between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, the Sky and the Fever. Like I'm keeping tabs. I'm just curious. I feel like every time they play, it's like so intense.
Yeah. The first game that the Fever and Sky played, it just reminds me of how annoying the coverage has been surrounding Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark and even like Kennedy Carter. One of the headlines said, Caitlin Clark gets the last laugh because the Fever beat the Sky. I'm like, it's the first time that they ever played. That would be appropriate if this was the last time they would ever play each other.
Oh my god!
But for this to be the first game, knowing damn well that they just came off of
Ugh.
like LSU going or beating them 2 years ago in the national championship.
Mhm.
It was frustrating. And I'm bringing that first game up because Angel Reese was the clear reason why they beat the Fever 2 days ago or 3 days ago. Maybe that was
Yeah,
yesterday. And the coverage, the headlines were totally different. Totally
of
different.
course.
Way that all of this is being covered is also another like driving force in that wedge that's continuing to divide everybody. They got a unique intersection because the WNBA is full of mostly like women of color, whether they're black or Hispanic or like Polynesian
Mhm.
or something like that. But so you already have like one category of like oppression. They're women, so that's another category. So like when you X those two things together, you in the middle of that intersection, it makes it 100 times worse. So all the flack that they're receiving, like it would be totally different and much less if it was the same circumstances for the men.
Definitely.
It's
Yeah, it
it's a
speaks to,
lot of
how women have always been, targeted in the media. Like, why does it have to be like Caitlin Clark
Literally.
gets the last laugh? Like, why do we have to pit these two, like, young, incredible, like,
right.
women athletes against each other?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so annoying.
I don't know, Max, if you watch any like scripted or like dramas about the NBA or some of those docu-series, but I feel like there's always like so much basketball content that's either scripted or unscripted. Like our mom and brother started watching Clipped on Hulu, like about like the Clippers, particularly like the Donald Sterling
I can't wait to watch that.
issue. Yeah,
Oh.
so like they were recommending that to me, and I know there's always like a docu-series or a documentary.
Yep.
Like I
Yep.
recently finally watched the Underrated Steph documentary, and that was so good.
Oh yeah.
And I heard there's going to be like a new Netflix NBA series, like modeled after that quarterback show they had, but this time on like really big NBA
Oh
players.
yeah. I did see that. I did see
Do
that.
you watch any stuff like that? Do you have any like sports shows that you're into?
My fiance and I, we watch a lot of like documentaries. So we did watch Malice in the Palace.
That was good.
So that was so good. We saw the N1 documentary, just sports in general. We watched. Did you guys hear about Bishop Sycamore? You ever heard that story?
Yes. Oh my gosh. It was so good.
Nuts.
Nice.
Well, podcasts. Like a lot of the retired players podcasts that I've been talking about. I watch those pretty frequently. So like I used to watch Gil's Arena a little bit. JJ Reddick's podcast I have been watching. Jeff Teague's podcast, LeBron's podcast with JJ Reddick.
Wow, you're giving such good recs. Thank you. I'm gonna jot these down. So for next season, who do you think Boston will repeat? Who are you seeing in the finals? Who's your pick?
All right, I'm gonna give two picks.
Oh.
My first pick is gonna be Miami.
Of course.
Of course.
My second pick, if the Bucks can pick up another piece and stay healthy, I think they have finals potential. And I'm going to be the only person, maybe outside of Laker fans, to say this, but I think if the Lakers can get it right in terms of like what their rotation is without injuries, because the Lakers been dealing with injuries all year last year. If they can like get a consistent like regular season under their belt with a rotation that they like, I think they have finals potential for sure. So
woo, go Lakers. I have a Lakers shirt on, so excited about that prediction. I'm surprised because I think a lot of people are counting the Lakers out. I don't think a lot
of people would say that. I don't think a lot
I
of
like
people
it
would say that.
though.
Nice. So we're either Miami Bucks finals or Miami Lakers finals. You heard it here.
So Laura, it would Miami have to be... Bucks are in the same division.
Sorry.
It would
she doesn't look
Miami
at this.
Lakers.
She doesn't know basketball enough. Ugh.
So
So either
Miami Bucks
Miami
conference
Lakers
finals.
or yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So it wouldn't be that
My
far off.
geography.
Like it could be like let's say the Lakers got to the finals, like a game or two before the conference finals in the East finished, and the conference finals was Miami and Milwaukee. And there you go.
There we
Got
go.
it. That's the prediction. You heard it
That's
here
what Laura meant to
That's
say.
the prediction. Today is Monday, June 24th.
Okay,
Yes.
let's see. And who do
Lakers
you
Heat.
think will win MVP next season?
All right, so I'm gonna put Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic. I'm gonna throw a wild card in there and say Jalen Brunson.
Oh, go Knicks.
Go Knicks.
Jalen Brunson.
Okay,
I
I love it.
love
Wild
it.
card, yes. Thank you so much, Max. That's our episode. We really
Yes.
appreciate you.
Thank
have
you
educated
guys.
me so much. I've been
So
learning
much.
a lot.
This is great.
Our listeners have learned so much, and you had great stories. I love the
Yes,
Shaq
and
story.
analysis.
Meeting Steph Curry's entire family, loved that. So thank you so much for being here. Tell everyone where they can find you and support
Yes, how
you.
to follow you, keep tabs of what you're up to.
First of all, thank you guys for having me. I smiled a lot. I had a lot of fun. It was good catching up with you guys.
Good.
On all platforms, it's just Maxwell Pearce. And then the way you spell my last name is Pearce. A lot of people spell it Pie, but it's Maxwell Pearce on any platform: TikTok, IG, Twitter, YouTube.
Yes, go check out
Yes.
Max's dunks.
All his fun videos.
So good.
Catch a Globetrotters show.
Catch a Globetrotter.
Laura, as a family, it was before you were on the Globetrotters, Max, because it was like
Your kids.
we were kids, but we went to a Globetrotters show in Connecticut, and it was really fun. We took our grandparents when they were visiting. They had a blast.
Okay, we got to make that happen again. We play in the Garden pretty much every year, and then we also play in crypto.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, so I'll definitely keep you guys posted on when we're in both.
Please.
Yes, let us know. We'll come out. That would be so fun. We'd love that. Let us know when you're in town.
I got you guys.
Yes, amazing. Well, if you enjoyed this episode of Sisters Who Watch, please give us 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts. Spotify, Apple. Give us a review, 5 stars, please. And make sure you follow us on all our social media platforms: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, all at Sisters Who Watch. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and buy our merch. Go to our website, sisterswhowatch.com, and go to the shop tab. You can get a hat just like mine. And we now have listener support, and we now have a Zelle. So go Zelle us at sisterswhowatch@gmail.com and support us that way.
Yes, we really want to hear from you guys. You can respond to our Q&As and polls on Spotify. You can comment on our social media posts and YouTube videos. You can email us at sisterswhowatch@gmail.com. We're grateful for the support. We appreciate y'all so much. Thank you for tuning in.
Bye.
Stay watching.